Welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. I'm Bob Delaney, Executive Director of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. Labor Vision, a production of the Institute, focuses on topics of importance to working Rhode Islanders. We hope you enjoy this edition.
Hello, you're watching Labor Vision, the at-home edition. I'm your new host, Autumn Guillotte, and kicking off our new series on ARPA spending in Rhode Island is Nick DeCristofaro from the ATU. The American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, was signed into law on March 11th in 2021 by President Biden. The act is a way for the federal government to aid state and municipal governments in coping with the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. Rhode Island's share of these dollars includes $1.13 billion for the state fiscal relief, as well as $540 million for local fiscal relief and another $415 million for relief for K through 12 schools. So we have a lot of money that's going into the state, and we get to decide how it's being spent over the next 4 years. On August 4th, 2021, the Rhode Island AFL-CIO convened a gathering of labor leaders from across the state just to discuss this matter of how to spend this money and deploy these funds to best help working class Rhode Islanders. So based off of these discussions, we've released several recommendations that were made by our leaders, including these 3 key proposals to address public transit. So that's why we have Nick here today. Thank you for talking with us about these recommendations, and we hope to flesh out why we need more funding for public transit in the state.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
Yeah. So just to outline some of these recommendations that were made, the report that was published by the Rhode Island AFL-CIO, which is publicly accessible on all their social medias and website. The first is to use a portion of the available funding to make RIPTA free to all riders. The second one is to build a network of covered port stations for RIPTA vehicle fleets with, I believe, rooftop solar paneling and publicly accessible electrical vehicle charging stations. And then the third is a network of restrooms along the service routes, the RIPTA service routes, that will be accessible to staff and the riding public. So these are some pretty exciting recommendations. I was wondering if you could go over why they're so important.
Well, the first one, of course, I believe that it's experimental, but I think that it's worth trying, and that's for all passengers to ride free. I believe it seems like the future is going that way. I mean, I believe it would be good for the environment to have more people ride the bus. And it also would speed up the trips. Most of the time that is spent is paying the fare. But when someone gets on, it takes time for them to pay the fare. If there was no fare, it would be a much smoother and quicker ride. And I believe that right now we have a good percentage of the riding public that ride free already. So it's going in the right direction. The second thing is, I thought of this years ago, half of our fleet is parked outside in the elements, the snow, the ice, the cold, which takes some wear and tear on our fleet, the buses, that is. So a carport would be a great thing to have buses parked underneath the carport. And of course, again, to move in the direction of where the future is going, I thought of solar panels on top. And of course, we're going to be switching over our fleet from diesel running buses to electric vehicles, electric buses. So to have charging stations right there underneath the carport with the solar panels that will be cost efficient. So it all comes together, in my opinion. And the third and most of all important is restrooms. Most people out there don't realize that it's a problem for the drivers. We always have people on board. We're always moving, and especially with the pandemic, COVID, where a lot of places closed down, public places where restrooms were available to us, and now they are no longer available to us. And of course, we're human, so we need to take care of ourselves. Yeah. And that is the reason why restrooms are so important. We have up to roughly 500 drivers, and we do have properties all over the state where the turnarounds are. So it wouldn't be a great, huge cost to install some restrooms. So those are the main three things that we can start off with.
Yeah.
I think it's if all three things were to happen, it would make life a lot easier for the public transit.
Totally. I mean, just thinking about restrooms and how essential they are to, like, every workplace has at least an employees only bathroom, except you can't really do that on a bus, at least not like a RIPTA bus.
Right, not a public.
And I believe we talked about this before when these recommendations were starting to get written down and put all in the same place. There's like an added layer of an issue of privacy for the drivers who don't have restrooms on the routes, right?
Right. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. We hate to, it's a discussion that you don't want to have publicly, but it's been long overdue. Something needs to be done. Years ago, it was less people, less congestion, less cameras, less videos. There wasn't any women drivers when I first started. And God bless them. I don't even know how they do it, but no, it's time. It's has to really, but whatever we can do, especially now that the funds are there, we have to pay attention to that.
Totally. And also, like you said, it's a COVID issue. It's about hygiene as well.
Yes, definitely.
Well, I think it's really exciting, especially when we're looking at the sort of greener aspects of updating our public transit. Making it freely accessible to everyone means less cars on the road. For regular commuters, right? I live outside the city of Providence and I have to drive in every single day. That's a little bit less traffic I have to deal with in the morning. And also, I love this idea of the solar panels collecting more energy and making all of our vehicles a little bit greener and more electric. Definitely infrastructure that will follow for the next decade or so at the very least. And I wonder, so like the ARPA money that's coming through is specifically about recovering from the effects of COVID-19. And that doesn't mean that the money can't be transformative, right? We're talking about 3 recommendations that will not only help us recover from some of the COVID-19 harms, but also transform and make something better. It's about a new future. So I wonder, for your membership, the drivers of the RIPTA vehicles. What was their experience in March 2020?
It was scary. We were lacking PPEs, personal protection equipment. We had hardly any barriers on the buses that kept us in harm's way from all the public coming in. It was scary. It was very scary. I mean, but we got through it. I mean, we kept moving. There was people that needed. Transportation is needed. Let's face it. I mean, it was, and it's a win-win situation, even for the people that don't actually ride it or use it. But just like you mentioned a few minutes ago, the traffic. Well, the more people we put on the buses, the less traffic it is, even for the people that don't use the buses, and the less emissions. It's just a win-win situation. But when it came to the pandemic, we were scrambling. I mean, a lot of drivers were scared to come to work, but they did anyway. At first, we couldn't get face masks. They weren't available. Hand sanitizer was, very scarce. So I got to hand it to them. I mean, they did it. They did it. God bless them. But it was scary. We made it through, and we didn't have any fatalities, thank God. There was a good percentage of us that did catch the disease or whatever it is, infection. But we made it through. We made it through. So thank God for that.
And that's good. Like now, I think a lot of people in all sectors experience like the shortage of PPE and then a windfall of PPE. And I understand that kind of happened with those plexiglass barriers that at first there wasn't, but most of the buses now have them. And they not only are a protector against COVID, but also you said against assaults as well, right?
Definitely. I mean, even an argument these days, when people get loud and start yelling at each other, and the spit comes out, even though you don't mean to spit, but as you're yelling. So I mean, and way we sit behind the wheel and the people are standing right above us, next to us, those barriers were, oh my God, thank God they came through. And then of course we do have assaults, physical assaults. Not only verbal assaults, but also physical assaults, which help us. So the barriers, I believe that they should come through with the buses when they're built. It's a necessity. And I think they are starting to do that. Of course, we put our own in, we purchased them, the authority purchased them. And as they arrived, our employees installed them. So right now, we have very few, just a few buses that are going to be traded in for the electric ones coming in. So we didn't install them on there.
Because I can imagine the buses that haven't had them installed are not buses that your workers really want to use, right?
No, they don't. I get complaints all the time. Oh, they're trying to give me a bus without a barrier. But the authority is good, if they don't want to take them out without the barriers, they do exchange them for the bus with the barrier.
And I think you said that spoke to like a bigger urgency of just needing more buses, right? That you just need more to make the RIPTA service faster, more reliable, and then possibly to even expand the routes.
I believe that's the way to go. We do need more buses. We do need to expand the routes. In fact, there's a couple of new routes coming into play right now. They haven't hit the road yet. And then again, if we do try the free fare, hopefully more people will try service, and I believe they'll like it. I really truly believe that there's, I know for a fact, I've been there for almost 45 years, and we have generations that I know moms and dads, and then the kids grew up and they're still riding. Because I'll tell you, I mean, it saves a lot of money. I mean, if you go to the city now, if you go to the city of Providence, just parking alone.
Yeah,
And wear and tear, and the prices of the vehicles today are unbelievable. Taxes, registration, so on and so forth, where you can jump on a bus and, believe it or not, it takes about the same time from point A to point B in your vehicle than a bus. It might take an extra minute or so, let's face it, but not enough for the savings that people can save. It's huge, huge
I think
difference.
even outside the city of Providence, I think we think about public transit and we think about the urban core the most, but I'm a URI alum. I relied on RIPTA services for a lot of my undergraduate degree. And so I think I'm excited for the possibility of expanding more routes into our South County areas and into our more suburban communities. I know that in the northern state, there are barely any routes that go out to like Chepachet or even like Smithfield or anything like that. So I
Not
think they
enough.
would I think they would appreciate even more availability of public transit.
They would. We've had meetings up there, especially in the north part of the state, where they had to fight to keep what they had. But I think if we were to offer more service, sometimes it's a catch-22. If there isn't enough service out there, the people really can't use it.
Right.
And the more service we give, the more ability to reach out and have them try the service. But I mean, for the price, even with the paying the fare, I mean, I don't think you can go from Providence to Wesley with $2 in your own vehicle.
No.
Yeah, on a RIPTA bus on the highway, and you get there just as quick. It's a good deal. It's a good deal.
I think so. Yeah, totally.
Yep.
So I'm what I love about what's happening with this ARPA funding is that there's a lot of very short-term successes that can be achieved, like where the money can be immediately applied, and then we can do some more transformative projects as well. So what are you most looking forward to, like once we first get that money really starting being spent in Rhode Island? Like where's the first place you want to see it go? Restaurants. Good.
Definitely restaurants. That's needed. That's gotta happen. The rest of the stuff is to make sure that the schedules are on are done correctly, so passenger can time them. In other words, if we need an extra bus on a certain line, I hope there's enough money there to put the extra bus. Because when we run late and that passenger has to wait in the elements, let's say the cold or the heat, whatever, an extra 10, 15 minutes, and that passenger, let's say, has an appointment and figured out that, you know, this time bus will get her to this office visit, and then it's late. It's not a good thing, you know.
Yeah.
So, and we do have some of that, and we're scrambling to get a little more money so we can add time to the service or an extra bus to that line if needs so. So that's something that I'm working on right now. So that's why I say it. There's a choose up coming on. When I say a choose up, it's why people pick the different routes. And some of the routes need help. And it's a tough thing to put it out there when you're strapped with money.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm loving this conversation. Public transit is such a necessity. I think it's like a right. We all are entitled to have the ability to get where we need to go. So I'm glad that we're able to set out these priorities. Is there anything else that you want to plug or mention before we wrap up?
Well, I mean, there's plenty. There's just too
Yeah.
much. I would like to, I mean, I have conversations with the governor. There is a couple of things that I believe that it would be a total asset to the Rhode Island Public Transit Authority, a seat on your board of directors.
Yeah.
I've asked him to do that a while back. I don't think he's made a decision yet, but hopefully if he sees this, I'll remind him to take a look at that. If it's feasible, it would be a great thing.
Well, great. Yeah, that's all very exciting. Maybe we can send it directly to him. Send him a link.
I appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you, Nick, so much for coming on. Again, this has been a at-home edition episode of Labor Vision. Be sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube, and then follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And you can always find current and past episodes on our website, laborvisionri.com. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Autumn. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Labor Vision. We appreciate your input and encourage your comments. Labor Vision can be seen on this channel 3 times each week: Tuesday at 7 p.m., Thursday at 8 p.m., and Saturday at 5 p.m.